Nail by Ian Jones and Andy Edwards. Episode 7, Revelations. Nail goes to church with Maggie for a special service. Verdun causes some upset and Merv comes clean. Maggie still hasn't answered Nail's clumsy proposal, and he is building up the courage to ask her again after his conversation with his mother Cassie and daughter Marianne in Aber Ishmael yesterday. I'm sitting with Maggie in Nantlas Wesleyan Chapel. Something for Mr. Hitler to ponder, says the Reverend Alfred Austin in his strong, Dudley accent. I can't do accents. Revelation 20:13. And the sea gave up the dead who were in it. Death and Hades gave up the dead who were in them, and they were judged, each one of them, according to what they had done. The chapel is one of the oldest in the county. John Wesley preached in the square here in 1770, and the stone he stood on was used in the foundations of the church when it was built in 1806. I don't really enjoy chapel, but Maggie has asked me to come because it's a special service. The Sea Scouts are representing the Royal Navy, and Verdun is doing a reading. Acts 27 verses 21 and 22. After they had gone a long time without food, Paul stood up before them and said, Men, you should have taken my advice not to sail from Crete. Then you would have spared yourself and this damage and loss. But now I urge you to keep up your courage, because not one of you will be lost. Only the ship will be destroyed. Amen. Amen, we reply. He's a good little reader. Maggie's very proud. I squeeze her hand. As the last hymn is being sung, the scouts march up the aisle and out into the sunshine. Maggie sings as loud as she can. Oh, hear us when we pray to thee for those in peril on the sea. The Sea Scouts form a guard of honour as the congregation leaves and the vicar shakes every boy's hand. Oh, I love you, Verdun Griffiths, says Maggie and kisses him on the head. Don't, ma, says Verdun, as he pulls away from her embrace and runs off to join his friends playing football on the green. Thanks for coming, Hobart, says Maggie. I know it's not your thing. Oh, I enjoyed it, I reply. Love a good sing-song. She smiles sweetly as we walk towards the green and sit on the bench. Oh, feels like summer already, says Maggie. I've never known a February day like it. I agree. Aye, nice and warm. You don't mind coming to Auntie Blodwen's for dinner, do you? I know she can be a bit of hard work, but of course I don't mind, I say. I'm looking forward to it, I smile. You big fat liar, she says, and we both laugh and roll into an embrace. Verdun runs towards us. Do I have to come to Auntie Blodwen's, he asks. I want to stay here and play with the boys. Well, of course you do, Bach, says Maggie. She's expecting you. I don't like it there. She smells. Her hair smells. Verdun, says Maggie, shocked. That's a horrible thing to say. You say sorry. You're not too big to go over my knee, you know. I won't say sorry, and her hair does smell. I am warning you now, young man, and it's not hair, it's hair. Not her hair? Her hair, says Verdun defiantly. The air coming out of her mouth. It stinks of cigarettes and whiskey. And he runs off, back to his game. Maggie is speechless. I walk over towards Verdun, who has stopped halfway back to the game and is sitting cross-legged with a face like thunder. Come on, Verdun, I say. Your auntie will be looking forward to seeing you, and your mother will be upset, man. Mind your business, he says angrily. You can't tell me what to do. You're not my father. And with that, he takes off again. I walk back to Maggie. Sorry, she says. I heard that. Oh, don't worry, I say. He's right, I'm not his father. Poor little bugger has been through a lot. Oh, thank you, Hobart, she replies. After about 15 minutes, all the other scouts drift off for their Sunday roast, and Verdun comes back to where we are still sitting. Sorry, Mr. Ackerman, he says awkwardly. I shouldn't have said, Oh, don't worry, boy, you're right, I'm not your father. But I do care a lot about your mother and about you. He doesn't reply, but takes Maggie's hand as we walk the 100 yards or so to an aunt's house. She takes my hand with the other and looks at me reassuringly. Dinner is nice enough, lovely bit of lamb, but Blodwyn is not easy. She's not Maggie's real aunt. She married Maggie's uncle. He died in the war. She only speaks Welsh. Maggie only speaks a little bit. I can hardly speak any. Verdun just isn't interested, so it's hard work. The conversation hardly flows, but she was kind to Maggie when she left Iceland. Put a roof over her head, so we put up with it. After pudding, we climb into Claude's van and drive over Picton Hill back down into Pontero. I drop Maggie and Verdun off outside her front door. Thanks, Hobart, says Maggie, and then nudges Verdun in the ribs. Thank you, Mr. Ackerman, he says. Maggie, I call as they walk from the car. She walks back towards me. Do you fancy a walk by the river after tea? Oh, that would be nice, she replies. I'll bring a flask. Oh, lovely. I'll knock for you after 4. I park up Claude's van in the coal yard and walk back to Mrs. Cooper's. Fancy a quick pint, Claude, I ask. Just one then, he says. I'll put my boots on. We knock the door of the ship using the out-of-hours secret knock. Friend or foe, comes a voice from behind the door. It's me, Eddie, I reply. Open the door, man, I'm gagging. Just been to chapel. Gold, says Eddie and opens the door. Quick now, he says and shuts it tight. The pub is packed and even smokier than usual because the doors and windows are shut. Worst kept secret in Carmarthenshire. Eddie's secret knock. I spot Merv in the snug, so Claude and I join him. He's sitting looking at a glass bottle. How you doing, Merv? I say. Oh, not great, he replies. Guts are rolling. Like a coaster. Feel like I've had a plate of Mickey McGinty's duff and hardtack. Can you read this for me, Neil? I haven't got my glasses. He hands me the bottle. Kaolin and morphine, I say. 2 spoons 4 times a day. Oh, thanks, Neil, he says, and I hand him back the bottle. He takes a big slug, and then another. Mervyn, says Claude politely, I have several pairs of reading glasses that belong to Mrs. Cooper. You are very welcome to come to the house and choose a pair. Oh, thanks, Claude, says Merv. You're always losing your glasses, Merv, I say. What do you do with them, man? Feed them to the pigs, or what? Merv becomes very solemn. Listen, he says, I'm going to tell you something now, and you've got to promise to me it'll go no further. Okay, Merv, I say, quizzically. He's looking very serious. He leans in towards us, and we instinctively move forwards. We look like we're about to clash heads in slow motion. I can't read, says Merv. Then he sits bolt upright and folds his arms. There we are, said it now. Never could, never have. Never been a need for it. Never bothered me, so thanks, Claude, but I don't need to come over for a pair of specs. My eyes are right as rain. We finish our pints in silence. Oh, that's me, says Claude. I'm off to the allotment for an hour. Will you be back for supper, Hobart? I'm making chicken pie. Ooh, great, yes, I reply. I'm walking out with Maggie after tea, but I'll make sure I'm back for supper. Ah, you two are like an old married couple, interjects Merv. We ignore him. I'll leave your supper in the stove if you're not back when it's ready. I'm going to visit the Penderyn, James says later. They want me to do a reader next Sunday. Oh, thanks, Claude, I say. Good afternoon, both, he says, and slips out into the square. I didn't know you couldn't read, Merv, I say. Well, I can't, he says. Anyway, there's something more important than that, Neil. He leans forward again. I've been thinking. You know when I went for supper with Edna last night? Oh, aye. How did that go in? Was she strong, Merv? I tease him. Shut up, man. Listen. You know I went for supper there, right? I say. Well, my guts have been killing me all day. Aye, hence the killing the morphine, I say. Merv nods and continues. Do you remember how Wood had bad guts for ages after he married Edna? Aye. And Harold? And Albert? How did they die? Stomach pains, wasn't it? What are you saying, Merv? And the husband she never mentioned, not even to her Wood. I don't know, Merv. Are you suggesting Edna? I'm not suggesting nothing. Just makes you think, that's all. Makes you think, he says. I'll not say a word. But I tell you what, that's the last meal she cooks for me. Strong woman or not. The subject is dropped as quickly as it came up. We have a couple more beers and I go off to meet Maggie. Have you been drinking, Aber Ishmael? Asks Maggie. No, I say, just a couple. Met Merv and he wanted a chat. I slip my arm through hers and we walk through the graveyard down towards the river. As we walk, we see Edna standing at the graveside with 3 bunches of flowers. Just saying good night to my boys, Margaret, she says. Oh, good for you, Edna, says Maggie. She's a lovely lady, Edna. So unfortunate. Every night she's here with her husbands. I'll change the subject. I got a grave to dig in Blind Wine tomorrow, I say. Who's that then? Asks Maggie. Some old boy, I reply. 98. Not a bad innings, is it? No, she agrees. Come with me if you want, I offer. Maybe, I'll have to see, she replies. We walk along the river below the old oak field, through the trees of Alderufach, past Tommy's old boat and into the park. The late afternoon air is beginning to chill as we throw stones into the water under the oak bridge. Maggie gets one to skim and bounce 3 times. We toss a couple of sticks upstream into the water and run like children to watch them emerge from under the bridge. I win again, says Maggie excitedly. We walk back through the park and sit in the shanty. Maggie pours some tea from the flask and we share it. The last warmth of the sun shines on our faces as we couch up on the bench. Maggie, I say. My heart is pounding. Yes? Did you hear what I said on Tuesday? She looks at me with her soft brown eyes. Yes, she answers, I heard. Well, it's just, you didn't answer, and I was wondering. Oh, shh, now, she says, and puts her finger on my lips. She smiles at me. It warms my face, just like the sun. Of course I'll marry you, you silly, lovely man. She kisses me on the forehead. I hold her tight and I smile to myself. The girls were right. She didn't say no.